We're ready to start drawing some walls now. So I'm going to go back to level 1 because it's the easiest way to start with learning how to draw walls. So we'll go to level 1 so we're looking straight up. I'm going to go to architecture and grab the wall tool, and as I click on the bottom of the wall tool, I'm going to come with a choice of wall architecture. We can make different kinds, and we'll learn about those later on, but this is our typical one that we'll use most of the time. It's going to show up as a basic wall generic 8 inches, and I'm going to suggest that we make a change. We're going to change that to a 6-inch or an 8-inch masonry. 8-inch masonry we'll use. You may have different choices here. If you do, it really is not critical which choice you make. We want to make sure now that we're drawing within the idea of all of the modeling works with an idea of parametricism. Everything is connected to everything one way or another. So we want to make sure we're drawing from level 1 up to level 2, the top constraint. So I'm going to go level 2. And I'll show you what level 2 is actually right now. I'm going to go over to the south elevation and double click on it. And you can see here where we have our site drawn. And I'm highlighting right now. And then we have level 1 and level 2. So actually, while we're here, I'm going to change level 2 to 15 feet. That'll make our walls a little bit taller. And I'm going to go back to level 1 and start drawing some wall now. So once again, I'm sorry, I'll have to select that wall architectural. You'll notice that the things that we set up stayed the same. The only other thing I want to change is where we're drawing our wall at. There's the wall center line. Actually, I just saw a nice drop down that I thought might explain that better, but it disappeared. I guess if you stayed on it long enough, you can see here in this graphic, we have number 1 is that wall center line. And really what we want is the finish face exterior number 4. That'll give us the most accurate kind of measurement to the outside of the building with respect to where we're going to be placing it on the site. So let's just go ahead and start with that. I'm going to draw in a clockwise position as opposed to a counterclockwise. When you draw clockwise, the exterior of the building is facing out. And we're going to make this, I believe it is 80 feet by 30 feet. So I'm just going to start down here at the bottom and draw up until I can come to 80 feet. And I can just type in 80 feet or just move up until I catch that number. I'm going to move over then 30 feet. I'm not on the chain command. Let me click this. I'm sorry. Now I'm going to go back to this wall and pull this over 30 feet. And then when I click on it, and I'll zoom in here, and that'll make it a little easier to get to that 30. Click. I'll drag it down until it's at 80, and you'll notice we get the hinting, and we can carry this all the way through back to this one. And when we're done, we can click the modify, and that'll take us out of the construction mode. And we'll look at that in 3D just to see what we've drawn. And we could give it a little rendering. I'll just click on realistic rendering here to see what it looks like. So now you can see we have that CMU unit. These are a block wall, cinder block wall. They might be you might be familiar with, and they're constructed up to level 2. If I rotate this around, you can see how that line's coming up on top of level 2. And we're in good shape. What we haven't done is place the building accurately on the site yet, and we'll do that next. And I want it to be 10 feet off of both the front and the side, as if it was a setback. So I'm going to draw a box around the whole thing. I'm going to grab my move tool. I'm going to come in here until I'm touching that outside edge and pull it over until I touch this one. And then I can move it back again. So now I know it's right on that edge. I'll move it back until it is 10 feet. And I'll do the same thing down here. I'll grab it again and use the move tool. Grab that center outside edge, and I get the little triangle indicating I'm on the midpoint. I'll pull that down and touch it there. Then I'll grab the move tool again, and I'll just move up exactly 10 feet. So now I'm spaced equally distanced from both curbs of our imaginary road. Once again, I'll go to 3D view, and you can see what that looks like. The one thing we don't have here is kind of like the representation of what might be the road. We could quickly do that before we go on to making the roof. So I'm going to go to architecture, and I'm going to make another floor, but it's going to be a floor that's lower. So I'm going to go to floor, architectural, and this time I'm going to use the same generic floor, but I'm going to offset it by a -6 inches. So I'm going to type -6 inches. And I'm going to use my rectangle tool again for construction. And it's not too critical where I draw this as long as it covers our site there. I'll click complete. It says that it's overlapping, and that's actually because that floor is 12 inches thick. And I'm going to leave it like that. That's fine. We're going to go to the 3D view and you'll see these two floors are slightly touching each other, but that's okay for this starting project. If I didn't want this to touch, I'd go down to -12 inches because that's the thickness of that. Okay, so in the next clip, we'll look at putting our first roof on.